Yes, Hickok 45, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Tennessee. Also, I'm your internet shooting companion, don't forget that. And yes, Tennessee, home of Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton, yes, we claim her. Sevierville, Tennessee. In fact, was over there, right, a few weeks ago. Met many of you at the meet and greet. So, here I am, it's Sunday, and I don't have my bow and arrow out, you know, but that was a little different last week. That was fun. Getting out the old stick and string is just fun. I enjoy it whenever I do that. And walk through and plink, stick, poke, you know, my animal friends that are waiting for me, like that bear, right? They don't seem to mind it one bit. Oh, and by the way, I think I failed to, as I was explaining about archery and how I got started and how you want to approach it. You want to get up close so you don't miss the target, get you a good square bag target, you know, and just move back a step at a time. You know, it may take you weeks and weeks or months, but I didn't really explain probably thoroughly why you don't want to miss. It's not like if I'm learning to shoot a pistol and I got a paper target up like this and I'm just starting, so I get up here close and start and then, you know, back up and, you know, increase my skills and everything. Well, the difference is if you miss, as long as you got good berm and backstop, if you miss the target, the paper target, if I miss something out here by a foot, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. In terms of where the bullet goes, it's going into the dirt, into the bank and all that, and you know, but with an arrow, every time, I mean, the whole beauty of those targets, which I didn't probably explain well enough, is the fact that they absorb the arrow just right, but yet they're easy to pull from. That's the beauty of that technology, is some of the animals and those bag targets. Bag targets are typically better, easier. And I mean, you can shoot a really powerful bow into those bag targets, most of them, and walk up and just pull it out with 2 fingers. You know, don't have to struggle at all. But the point is, if you miss, you may never find that arrow, but you may damage it and destroy it, okay? Very, very easily. They're just so easy to lose, or you mess up the fletching, you break the tip, or whatever you do. Hits a rock, mess up the tip, and if you're lucky, that's all that happens. You can put a new tip on. But that's the thing about that. Okay, I didn't really explain that, I don't think. That's why you don't want to miss the target. It's not that you're training for the National Robin Hood Championships, if there's such a thing. It's that you just don't want to miss. I don't know what it'd be like. You know, with guns, I mean, there's just not a lot of parallels there, other than unless you're somewhere where it's risky to miss because you don't have much room to shoot or something. But yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that target if you can avoid it. Even though you got it in the bank, or that would be a thing too. So if you've got a place where you got a little bit of a dirt pile behind it or something like that, that gives you a little more leeway, and it's not as critical if you miss. But if you got it sitting out in the field, in your yard or wherever, you miss, I mean, there's arrows that are just amazing. Plus they can bounce and glance and ooh, kill your neighbor's dog or cat, or neighbor. So, you know, just key point there I really didn't emphasize enough. So it's good to see you. Here we are back. I've been drinking a little ballast all day because it's so hot. That was a joke. Appreciate them and Talon Grips helping us out. I could put Ballastol in a Talon Grips cup, couldn't I? No, you don't drink it. Even though it's not very toxic at all, you don't drink it. That was a joke. So here we are. Yeah, guess what I had? Many of you already know. 1918. 1918. Man, I bought this thing new in 1918. Believe that? Probably not. Nobody bought it new except maybe the U.S. military, because it's a USGI gun, World War I, Colt, 1911, okay? And I think this is the one that I said would be the last I'd let go, right, in that video. And maybe that's why I have it out today to shoot. I might like it a little bit, you reckon? Can I shoot it again? Okay, let's take a couple shots with it. I put a little, I know it's sacrilegious, I put a little bit of white paint on the front sight. These things have no sights, basically. And I'm already getting hammer bite. I forgot about that. Oh, I was trying for the gong, wasn't I? Okay, we're not going to have to go through that again, figure out where to hold. Yeah, I was holding too high, but I think I need to hold about pretty much 6 o'clock with this. After I painted the sights, it'll sometimes that will change your, this is the first time I fired it since I painted it this morning. And if you paint sights, it's not the front sight, it's not that you've ended up with a big thick layer of paint on there that is equivalent to raising the front sight necessarily. I guess you could. I mean, you could put several coats of paint on there and that'd make a little difference, I guess. But it's not that so much as it changes the look of it. And you might need to hold it a little bit lower just because it's so pronounced, so prevalent. You can see it so well. It's just kind of a different sort of thing. Hard to explain, but many of you know what I'm talking about probably, right? I think you would anyway. See what is going on here. Make sure it's not, no. Okay, so a beautiful gun, and I'll take some more shots at the gong. Just, gosh, historical. Just had to bring it out. I've got another firearm that I've just shot a few times, and that is, wow, a gun no one's ever seen before. P365. I'll bet none of you have ever heard of that firearm, right? Well, you have, but now the 380 version of it hasn't been out, forever. And just now getting around to getting one, and thought I'd try it out. Keep forgetting about it. But thought it'd be interesting to shoot it and see how it feels. A lot of you contact me about asking about, or in comments will ask what would be a firearm that would be easier to rack the slide. You have trouble with that, and well, not like 50% of you or anything, but a lot of people do, and just want something that's softer recoiling. 380 is still 380 is still a bullet. It's not like you're shooting BBs, okay? And with new ammo, there's some good ammo in 380 and carry ammo. So, me, I may seem like I'm a snob, caliber snob, because I'm Hickok, 45, and I do love to shoot 45 caliber stuff, always have. But no, I'm likely to be carrying a 9mm, even a 380. I don't have it on the table. The little LCP 380, either the Max or the regular one, whatever. 38 Special plus P, 642 or something. So I may sometimes come off as a caliber snob, but I'm really not. Really not. I do prefer to be up in the 38 plus P 9mm range, at least if I can, but not always, not necessarily all the time. Depends on what I'm wearing and that kind of thing. For civilian, generally a firearm is a kind of a get off me kind of thing. Get away from me, just leave me alone, because you really don't want to necessarily be pretending you're a Navy SEAL, right? Which brings me to the recent event, of course, in Indiana. There could be a situation where you, if you are competent at all with a handgun, you do need to intervene. If you possibly can, if you feel like you could do it, there could be something come up like that. Man, that is just great. That young fellow at the mall and the food court took that guy out. That is like everybody's dream, not just gun people. That's everybody's dream. When somebody pops up to do evil like that, that they get slapped down very quickly. Unfortunately, he was able to commit some atrocity there, and sorry for those people that were murdered. Could have been a lot more, at a mall, food court. The news on that could have been totally different, very, very easily, and it generally would likely end that way. What was it, Greenwood Mall shooting, 23 dead, 18 wounded, or some crazy number like that, if not for, somebody jumping in there, okay? So that is just a wonderful thing. Generally speaking, an armed civilian is not gonna, those kinds of opportunities are not gonna be presented, I mean, if I don't know, if we could do that, look at the statistics, and I guess we could, of every armed citizen who needed to, let's say, actually use his firearm or her firearm, actually pull the trigger in the last 10 years, I would guess 99.9% of them were just like kind of a one-on-one, 1 or 2. It was an attack on their person, and it wasn't a real mass shooting like that, a loony bird, in a crowd sort of thing. But then again, anything can happen. It's why we carry a firearm. You don't know what's going to happen, obviously. But you do have to think about the odds. I mean, we're crazy if we don't. I mean, there are the odds. I'm not likely to get struck by lightning, so I don't wear a, they call it a lightning rod and a helmet around, just because there's always that remote chance of it. But if you're going to go armed, have something you can shoot, because you'd like to think you would jump into something like that, like he did. Eli is his first name. I can't remember his last name. Dickens, is that it? But kudos to him, and it's great that he did it. I don't know what kind of training he had, or if any training, or what. But it's just wonderful that he had the bravery to do that. But again, just to keep some common sense in it, that I think that's wonderful, and I like to think I would do the same thing. I played out scenarios like that in my head occasionally when I was teaching. Okay, what would I do if somebody came in here, because I wasn't even armed? And I think I had my mind programmed. I've talked about this before. At least I feel like I did, that I was going to do something. Wasn't just going to let kids be killed. I was going to do something, because I've always felt like in those situations, and I don't know if it had happened, if I'd have had the courage to do it. I hope I would have, because I had the mindset at least. And I even had a bulletproof book bag handy and a baseball bat. Nobody knew. And my intention was to rush the person, and maybe prevent with that book bag, it was a bulletproof book bag, in the back and that kind of thing. Someone had given it to us years ago. And I kept it there handy. And that was my presence of mind, hoping I would be able to go right to them and just tackle them. Because that pretty much would end it. They're not going to get, if I can get a hold of them, they're not going to get away. And then the guys at least would, didn't mean to be sexist, but other students would have jumped on too in that situation. And, maybe I would have survived it if I took a hit. Maybe I wouldn't. At my age, even then, I just felt like that's why I tried to have that mindset. And plus, I'm responsible for the kids, that I would do that. Now, again, I haven't done that. I haven't had to do that. I've not been faced with that. So it is something to think about, when situations like that. What would you do? Are you prepared for it? Are you well enough prepared for it? And then are you, if nothing else, the part of the mindset, I sound like a trainer, I'm not, of course, the mindset in terms of making the decision quickly, that would be a big issue right there. And then one of the most important things is realizing what's happening. And one advantage of a situation like that, someone got a rifle and they're mowing people down at a mall or a food court, that's pretty clear. You see them being hit or dying or bleeding, and you see what's happening. It's pretty cut and dried. This is what's happening. A lot more people are going to be killed. Maybe I can help. That one's pretty clear, but you really do have to assess it quickly. very quickly. I've heard trainers, I've heard Tom Gresham and many others, people he's interviewed talk about this, that you got to be careful not to jump to a conclusion. You know, if it's not an obvious thing like that, and I guess that was kind of obvious, you wouldn't have to study too long to see what's happening. But there's also this situation you come upon where you think someone's about to be killed by this guy or whatever. This loony, this guy must be a lunatic. Maybe they're doing a scene from a music video or a scene from a movie somewhere back in this alley. They've waited till tonight to do it back in this alley. There's 3 guys with cameras. You don't see them. And they're filming a scene for a movie or something, you know. And one of them screaming at the yellow, "I'm going to kill you," and pulls out a rifle. Now, there should be people around to protect that sort of thing, right? Make sure. But you don't know. Or it could be a domestic situation where this couple, they've been fighting. They're always fighting and making threats to each other. And he's always threatening to shoot her, pull a gun and shoot her or whatever else. And you just heard part of it, and he's all over, and it looked like he's going to attack her. And I mean, you just got to be careful what you jump into. Okay, just that's kind of the caveat. But man, when something obvious is going down like that, hopefully all of us have the presence of mind to intervene, you know, and realizing it might not. Oh, I heard something, and realizing it might not go our way, you know. Guy might turn around and put a bullet right between your eyes before you know what's happening, you know, because you're going to be a stressful situation, and you know how it is when you're shooting and you've even been moving around a little bit, your heart's beating fast, or you're just not steady sometimes. So all that's you know, it's just things to think about beforehand, and if possible, and you know, I don't know, I'm just rambling about it. I think it's just so wonderful that it ended up the way it did, instead of so much worse. Think about what's bizarre about it too. I was going to say I've seen reports and people, you know, saying that he wasn't a hero because, you know, he killed somebody lost their lives, and all these kinds of stupid things, you know, which you're going to have, right, with anything you do. I mean, you could come up with a cure for cancer tomorrow, which is probably diet, by the way. But you could come up with a cure for cancer, and you would get so much criticism. You really, maybe from the cancer industry, but you would just be hammered by somebody, a lot of somebody probably. Don't ask me why, but it would happen. You know, it's just the way life is. This guy saves all these lives, and there's people online quickly trying to make hay out of that and get attention. But what I was going to say, there are people today, it's close to lunchtime for me, there are people right now cooking lunch, or they're out eating somewhere, maybe about to cut into a nice juicy steak, or they're just warming up some soup at the house with the kids, and they were at that mall, they were in that food court. And if not for this fellow, Eli, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. They'd be in the morgue right now. So it's always hard to quantify, you know, how many lives something will save. It's always impossible to quantify what does not happen, you know, what does not happen, because it's just like in general, how many people don't break into your house because you have firearms? Because you live in Tennessee or Texas or somewhere. How many people don't mess with you on the street, don't mess with you in your car, have not tried to hijack you because you're in Texas? Now, it doesn't keep it from happening, right? But, you know, you can't measure that. It's immeasurable. But so there are people, though, I would say, right now, today, going about their business. Who knows what they're doing, shopping, wouldn't be at school maybe in the summer, but they're at work, maybe. They're working in that mall, you know. They maybe had just bopped into the food court to grab a bite to eat. I don't know, I forget what time that happened, but they popped in there to eat something. And then right now they're they're working in that mall at whatever store, one of the clothing stores, electronics store, they're at the mall. And if not for Eli, I'm sorry, I forget his last name, is Dickens. Well, how could I forget Dickens, something like that, as an English major, but they'd be in the morgue. Some of them would probably, so maybe a lot of them. So it's a great thing, and I mean, it really, really though. The only thing is, it's it's just terrible though that he broke the rules of the mall. You know, it really is, because that was a gun-free zone. As I understand, gun-free zone. No one's supposed to have firearms in that mall, like most malls. And I think he probably should get about a 10-year prison sentence for that, don't you? For carrying a pistol into that mall. Yeah. You wait. Someone will try that. They will. Surely the good people in Greenwood, I guess is the town in Indiana, will just grab the first district attorney that tries to charge him with anything and slap him upside the head really hard, or her really hard. Because you know the way it is, you don't know. I always thought that the district attorney, and as I was growing up, in most of my life, they are kind of like the chief law enforcement agent in the county or the state or the country, more or less. You got your cops on the beat, you got your detectives, and right on up to sheriff or whatever, and the district attorney. They get a case, someone's done something, they provide the evidence, the detectives and the district attorney's office, and they prosecute them and put these people behind bars that need to be behind bars, right? And but I don't know. It's just again, in our upside down world, now it's the victims get into more trouble, seems like. But anyway, you realize I was joking about that. So we could talk for hours, couldn't we, on gun-free zones? Yeah, I guess the shooter didn't get that message, did he? The rifle shooter, the murderer, didn't get that message for some reason. So another one of those feel-good policies. All right, enough on that. But kudos to that young fellow. Can I shoot this 380? Which something else I want to talk about. Don't let me forget, okay? I'm just going to skip all my notes. I rambled too long on some of that. Okay, now this is, you make a note so I don't forget. I want to talk about that. What was it? I already forgot. No, I didn't. Yeah, okay. I'll make a note. There we go. All right. So this is the P365, which is one of the most popular firearms in America, right? 9mm. Well, they came out with the 380, a few months ago. And it is the same size. We're going to do a video with it, maybe today or tomorrow. And it's just a different caliber. It's lighter, is the biggest difference. Size, it's the same size almost. The slide's a little smaller, but not much. It's all the same length and dimensions pretty much. But they took a little weight out of the slide and the barrel. And I think they've got a weaker spring in it, because it's 380. So I shot it a little bit. I'm going to try it again today. Yeah, bullseye. What do you know? Let's try this one on the gong. Got him. I couldn't hear those, but yeah, pretty nice. I almost moved this table out to where it's a little too close to those front targets. If I was shooting anything very powerful, I might not shoot those. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I thought that the other day. It is the biggest criticism is it's what? 380, right? For most people. But 380 is no slouch. And if you need less recoil, You know, maybe the pistol's a little easier to work. It is lighter. What is it? I've got the notes I made. It's, gosh, it's like 2-3 ounces lighter. And a little pistol like that, that's a lot. So it is lighter, and still holds 10. So pretty cool. I have 2 mags, so I might load some more up and shoot. So what reminded me of was, someone made a comment. I saw, I don't know, days ago that maybe was it Eli? But he watches your videos or whatever. He might be a subscriber. It brought to mind how when things happen, you know, around the country, people are quick to you know, grab our videos or whoever's other videos with that gun or whatever, and then look around and see if anybody left a comment. You know, if somebody did some dastardly act, if they were some trace, I bet they were watching so-and-so's videos, somebody else's or ours or whatever. And like that's relevant to anything, right? 99.9% of the people that watch all the gun videos, probably our videos especially, they're just law-abiding people, right? Wanting to learn about firearms. I mean, why else would they put up with me rambling? Even in a gun video, I ramble too much, talk too long. So, you know, I doubt that many terrorists are watching my videos. So what, in a free country, if they are, you know. But we do videos on perfectly legal items, you know. I can't be responsible, neither can you, for somebody misusing, you know, whatever it is. It's just like the argument with video games or TV or whatever, or computers, iPhones, you know, people that do oddball things, do crazy things, maybe deadly things, you know. What do? You go, oh, well, now this person regularly shopped at Walmart. Yeah, that's a clue. He played these 3 video games quite a lot. All right, there's the reason. Those 3 video games. Yep, he wouldn't have done it if it weren't for that. He drove a Kia. There you go. There's a clue. If he had been driving a Subaru, if that was his favorite car, it never would have happened. You know, he drank Mountain Dew. That's it. That's the reason. Okay. You know, he watched a certain TV show. He was a Simpsons fan. There you go. The Simpsons. There's something about that show that could turn you into a murderer, right? Or he watched gun video. He would never have known about this gun, whether it's this gun or this 45 or whatever, and would never have had evil intent in his mind if he hadn't been watching firearms videos on YouTube or violent movies with shooting in them or something. Okay, so you know, no one has any control, you know, over crazies out there. It's just that simple. Or even people who have the potential to be crazy. You know, you can't gear society to that. Otherwise, nobody does anything. Nobody does anything. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. That's nothing. If you know, they were ever come up sometime in the future, you know, that is totally irrelevant to me. You know, it really is. It's either very relevant right now before it happens, or it's not relevant at all. You know, it's just a random thing. I've told you all about. I mean, some of it will laugh at now, but years ago, I think I talked about it in Shooting the Breeze. There was a cop, detective. I think there was a cop that I've still got the email somewhere. I think I printed it out, and he messaged me. I think it may have been back in the days when you could actually do what they call a PM, private message, on YouTube or something. He said, sorry to, I've read this to y'all, something like, sorry to reduce your subscriber count or your viewer count or something like that. These cops were, you know, viewers of our videos. But we had to arrest a couple, three guys in a drug bust somewhere in Chicago, I think. I forget where, or Indiana, I don't recall. And they had to go in and arrest them. I don't know if they had to break the door down or what the deal was, but some kind of felony, fairly serious felony arrest. And they're on the, I think it was a TV or computer, TV, I think it was. They had to run out on the TV with one of our videos. And same deal, you know, the cops thought it was funny because they were viewers and fans of the videos, and so did I, you know. So I told me, yeah, you got to quit putting these people in jail. We need all the viewers we can get. Well, I mean, that's kind of my attitude about it. I mean, I am sorry that that there are people in the world that are just totally maladjusted, and they have potential to do evil. I can't relate to that. I can't. And most people in the community, our community, the firearms collecting community, shooting community, you know, I think are the same way. And so, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, remind me of that. You know, we hear so much from law enforcement officers that watch the videos at all levels, federal agents and local cops, and my gosh, when we do a meet and greet, sometimes it seems like every third person that comes up in the line or is there is a cop. They bring me patches, you know, from their agency, wherever it is, you know, and coins, you know, challenge coins and just different things, just regularly, you know. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. I'm just trying to make the point that the audience is what it is. It's, again, 99.9%, just like whoever you want to name, the poet warrior or Iraq vet or anybody, name right down the line. There might be some people that are on the edge, you know, that maybe they don't cater to crazy people, but, you know, just maybe a different approach. But by and large, everybody is just, we're just doing this for you, to help you choose a firearm, to entertain you a little bit too, of course, have some fun. And I've talked about that a lot. You know, it's a two-way street. I get to make a living shooting. I enjoy it. Didn't even know you can make a living doing this, of course, for about a year. Well, I didn't even know after the first year. After the first year, I learned, oh, really? You could make a little money from some ads, maybe pay for a little ammo. I didn't even know that was a possibility the first 10 months or so that we did this. You know, we're doing it. And then, you know, making a living doing this was like a joke. Yeah, right. It was just like a little extra, you know, income and fun and everything. So came to it that way. I've explained all that. Anyway, here I am rambling again. Sorry. Okay. Let me shoot this thing some more. I'll tell you what. Someone who just is dead set, you know, an experienced shooter who has absolutely no problem with a 9mm in this gun, for example, probably isn't going to be interested in this. I probably wouldn't be interested in switching to it. I tell you though, it really is a sweet shooting firearm, and y'all know that if you've shot any 380s in reasonably sized firearms. Now, 380 really shines in a very small firearm. It's a smaller, less recoil and all that. So there are historically, and still are, I guess, some very small pistols chambered for it because it's smaller and weaker. Yeah. So, you know, like the LCP, the regular LCP or even the Max, okay? Much smaller, much lighter than this. And wow, you drop one of those in your pocket and you really don't know you have it. And, you know, I think I've demonstrated you can put the regular LCP in your shirt pocket and not know you have it. That'd be an awkward place to carry it, not safe, but I demonstrated that it would fit. So that's the advantage of a 380, but yet it's still kind of a real bullet. It's not a 25 or a 22 in terms of a defensive firearm. So when you put it in a 9mm size firearm, it becomes, you have that question like, why do I have it in a 9mm small firearm? Because I can shoot 9mm in this, but the 9 kicks more, there's more recoil, and you got all that going on. The a little harder to pull back. the 380 is so soft. I mean, it's just, well, you can probably tell. It doesn't jump much at all. I'll demonstrate in the video. Wow, same hole without even aiming. Let's go back over there. There we go. How about a 2-liter? Yeah. Oh man, that's pretty cool. I don't know why I waited so long on that. I think I probably could have found one of those. I noticed Bud's had one, and try that out. A little comparison there, because a lot of people are still making that decision what firearm they want, and it's a tough one, isn't it? Wow, is it a tough one? What was I? Oh, I was shopping for a tool, and whenever I find myself shopping for something that I'm not that familiar with, it really comes back to me what a new shooter goes through, and how when you don't know anything about something, there's so many questions that you have in your mind, and at least at my age, I have enough experience to realize if I'm suddenly looking for, well, this was a tool handheld saw. Okay, I didn't even know they made them like that. I hadn't noticed, and my brother came down and helped me on a little project. He had one. It's his was a Milwaukee hacksaw. It's called reciprocating saw, hacksaw, and it's a one-hand op deal. I've got a reciprocating saw, but it's kind of a big thing, and this one is like a one-hand operation, and just so handy, that I thought, man, let me see that. I took pictures of it. I got to get one of those, because most of my, building or sawing thing, so many times you got to cut something off, and it's not anything fancy. You just need to get a saw to saw it out. I end up using a handsaw most of the time. But anyway, so I got to searching and shopping for them, and realized, okay, it looks like everybody makes one like this, and what size do I want? There are different sizes and different options and all this kind of stuff, Same old deal, you got to just ask yourself the right questions. And what am I going to do with it? What do I need it for? And how much power do I need? And what about the batteries, and how long do they last? And do I have anything already that uses those batteries, which is a factor, of course, and all that sort of thing. But because it's battery cordless, that's why. Like this gun, cordless, and most of my screwdrivers. So it's a tough choice. And if we have some brand new people to guns, don't let the mall ninjas or the warriors, wannabe warriors, talk you into anything you can't handle, or you know is probably not right for you. You can always upgrade later. It might cost you a little bit. If you have fired, say this gun for example, you're a brand new shooter and you go somewhere and you're a little wary of guns anyway, but you want a handgun, and you shoot this 380 and you shoot a 9, the same firearm, and of course the contrast is going to be significant to you, and if you're not used to recoil at all, you're just naturally going to like this one better, right? So you got all that too, but if you feel like it's enough gun, you've done the research, and with the ammo you're going to carry, and you just really like the recoil and the feel of this, and the fact that you can it's a little bit weaker spring, easier to manipulate. Don't let someone talk you out of it necessarily. It's so I don't know. It's hard to know the answer. As I've said before, what will happen possibly, you are new to shooting and you get, say this, and you shoot it a fair amount, and you shoot some other guns, you buy another couple of firearms, you really get into firearms. You shoot some friends' firearms, and you just get better. You get to where you can handle the recoil better, it doesn't bother you as much, it's part of it, and you really get into shooting, you really enjoy it, and you shoot pretty much. it could be then that, and you shoot somebody's 9mm in this, and at a range one day, and you go, oh yeah, it's like mine. Yeah. Oh yeah, my memory was that it was significantly more recoil, that I just couldn't really control it as well at all. But you shoot it, like months or a year later, and I don't know, I think I could handle that okay, just from your experience, your growth, your professional development. And so, then maybe you trade up, or you keep them both, or whatever, you buy the 9. It's just the way it goes. When you get better at something, I've talked about that before, then you notice your skill level changes, and so what's right for you might change, or what you can handle easily might change. Your tastes change. So that's just part of it. Thankfully, if you buy a firearm, a good name, it's still going to be worth, most of its value if you take care of it and trade it in, sell it. I don't know what the percentage would be. You gun dealers, 80% or whatever. Say this is, I think it sells for 500 MSRP. So just talking apples to apples, MSRP. If I pay 500 for this today, and in 6 months I decide I want it the 9, well, maybe I can just sell it for 400. Okay. So I sort of rented this gun for $100 for 6 months. Look at it that way, and got into something better. It helped educate me. A really good thing for a rental range to have would be like a couple of these, wouldn't it? One in 380 and then one in 9mm. Let people shoot them. There's got to be a lot of people wanting, working on that decision, as we speak. Or they're trying to decide which 45 they're going to carry. Yeah, man, good old slab size. I got to shoot him again before I let you out here. Man, there's all kinds of things I had to talk about. Anything important? Gosh. I don't know. Oh yeah, I got to give young people advice, right? Something dumb, probably. Well, I know. Say I heard quoted somewhere this week. We are a part of all that we have met. We're a part of all that we have met. Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote that in the poem Ulysses, right? But it is so true how we are a part of everybody we've met, everything we've done, really. Everything we've been exposed to, right? Youngsters and others. So my advice is be careful what you're exposed to. Think of yourself, even though we're not a clean slate, but think of yourself kind of like that. And so whoever your friends are, people you work with, what jobs you take, where you spend your time, what websites you spend time on, all of that, who you spend your time texting to and communicating with, where you spend time physically, geographically, all of that is who you are, and it's who you are becoming, right? If you're hanging out with people, maybe, I don't know, and you feel like maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with them. They're not a good influence on you, but you just keep hanging out with them. That it takes, it can set in and you become like them more so, right? So just something to think about. The things you think about become you, and all that sort of thing. If you're trying to break some addictions or get off something or improve your lifestyle or whatever it is, sometimes just getting away from it, is your exposure to people and everything, literally everything makes you who you are, and maybe down the road, 6 months, a year, 10 years, it's harder to turn that around, than it is now. So that's my advice for what it's worth. So you think about it, if you've got a little age on you, even if you're 15, you already are kind of a part of all that you have met. You're a part of the people you've known, where you live, and everything. You just are, and that part of that enculturation. That's the right word. Where the culture you're in, you become indoctrinated, so to speak. Not necessarily in a negative or positive way, but it could be either one, right? So you're influenced. It's maybe all you know. I used to always use the example, people it helps to understand, I think, that different people are different, who think differently. You just can't understand where they're really odd, or that family's really odd, how they do that, or, how they raise their kids, or how they do things is really weird. Man, those people are strange. I'm afraid of them. Well, everybody's different, and think about the way they grow up. I always use the example of cannibals, for example. If you're a young child, whenever this would have been, I don't know that there are any cannibals anywhere on the planet right now. There might be, but if whenever the last group of cannibals thrived somewhere, there are probably a lot in that culture, but community. The kids growing up, did they see anything unusual about eating people? Not a bit. Totally normal, right? Totally normal. Nothing odd about that. So, however you grow up and whoever you spend your time with, that's you, And also think of that, I won't keep you too much longer. The business it's been in the news this week about how the tours of the great men like Jefferson, James Madison, are becoming so woke, and they focus so much on the negatives, slavery, just different things that were definite negatives with those people. And I've seen that too myself. It's been 15 more years since I toured Monticello, but so I've been at Washington's house and Jefferson's. I didn't notice it back then, but in the last 10, 15 years, I have noticed. I've been on a lot of Civil War tours, and there seems to be an absolute preoccupation with it. Everybody knows how horrible slavery was, and all the things that went along with that. And I thought they did a good job at Monticello with showing Jefferson's slave quarters and everything. You tour through there, and everybody knows the negatives and the positives in history, right? And it's just like you or me. We have negatives and positives. That doesn't erase the positive things that you do. But I noticed that in Civil War tours, even though before the days of idiotic wokeness, just a preoccupation with you got a tour that's an hour long. You spend 40 minutes of it just devoted strictly maybe to a unit of say the black soldiers, and what they did and all this kind of thing, and trying to, it becomes so obvious rather than just including that, and even emphasizing it to some extent. It becomes like the predominant theme and story of the entire tour, and it becomes I don't know, it renders the entire experience and tour less authentic, just like it would anything if you focus a greater amount on something to the detriment of everything else, and in the extreme, but so anyway, that's just bizarre to me, the greatness of the founding fathers, even with their clay feet, Oh, one reason I thought of that was like I say, the time. You can't excuse slavery, of course, through anything, which has been on the planet forever, but you can't excuse the behavior. But it's also very difficult to understand something if you weren't there too in those times, and you grew up in those times. Probably again, doesn't excuse anything, but I heard somebody on Joe Rogan say this a year or two ago. In 100 years from now, it could be that anybody who, I don't know, shoots a gun is considered a Neanderthal, or eats a hamburger, or whatever it might be. And then you, as somebody's ancestor, will be looked down on for killing cows, and me too, or whatever, as being responsible for this mass murder. I don't know what it be. I'm just making up stuff, talking off the top of my head. But yeah, you got to try to think about the times and people's cultures, how they grew up, what their thinking was, and of course on the slavery issue, I know that so many of the founding fathers were, while they were even practicing it, they were working to get, and acknowledging we got to get rid of this. This does not make sense, But anyway, I'm not an expert on that area. I shouldn't even talk about it. I just know enough to be dangerous. A little learning is a dangerous thing. So anyway, I got off on a lot of crazy stuff, and I will shut my mouth, okay? I'm going to have to do a grammar lesson, though, I tell you. Those of you who've been around a while, I did some grammar lessons. Not that I'm perfect, but there are certain things, and I know I touched on that in one or two of those grammar lessons I did on the Hickok 45 and Son channel. But I still see people saying and writing and text, have run. This is more, I don't know, it hits me harder than, I'm not a nut about that stuff. When I see your, of course, we all see that used incorrectly. Why are you, posteriori, and all that. That's just life on the internet. But when people write a sentence and say that they have ran something, it seems like that one comes up a lot, or they have went. It just, wow, where were you in the 8th grade? Were you sleeping through 7th grade English or 8th grade English, just that past participle, have ran, there's no such animal. Have went, no such animal ever in your life will you say that sentence and it be correct. It's I have gone, It's not even have drank, it's have drunk. I have drunk that before. I have gone there and I have drunk that before, okay? And I have run that race before. I have run it, So maybe I should bring that back up occasionally, okay? And even when I was teaching English, that was part of my approach. I admitted to the kiddos that there are things that you may not get really straight. We'll cover it so you can figure it out, give you ways to figure it out. You're writing a paper especially, and anything formal. But there are certain things you need to, and I really drilled the principal parts of verbs for that reason. You're sitting in a job interview and you tell the interviewer that you have went there before. Depending on what the job is, now if it's making fries at McDonald's, it's probably not going to matter, right? But if you're interviewing or if you're even speaking in an educated environment, get some of those common problem verbs kind of fixed like that one. And it doesn't mean you're dumber than anybody else. People that use good grammar might be much less successful than you, not as smart, not as astute in a lot of ways. Might be dangerous politically or whatever. Okay, so not making judgments, but those things hit a lot of people's. Let's put it this way: whether it may not bother you at all, and that's fine, but they hit people's ears, really, a lot of people's ears, with a slap. Whenever you say, I have went there before, or I have ran that race before, I have drank that juice before, and there's of course a lot of those kinds of verbs. You have run it before. You have run. Yeah, I'll tell you why that one comes to mind so much, because we're talking about firearms, because I see it used incorrectly so many times. I've run that ammo, but lots of times it comes out, I've ran that ammo in my AR and it works just fine. No, you haven't ran it. You have run that ammo. You ran it yesterday, and you have run it all year, okay? Now, I'm not going to charge you for that piece of information. All right, sorry to be a grammar nerd. It's just those really obvious ones. The past participle form of a lot of verbs, for some reason, is beginning to drift away. But the problem is, it's not drifting away if you're writing a research paper or you're interviewing, for any kind of high-level job. I don't know about high level is the correct word, but a professional job where you're going to be communicating with people, okay? and you threw out a couple. I have ran that before. I've went there, just in your conversation with the interviewer, and you might not get back to a second or a third interview and never really know why. They just happen to have somebody that just was better qualified. You know, when you call back, you understand why you didn't get more serious consideration. They won't talk about your have wents or your have rants. They won't mention that, probably. Okay, unless you're interviewing to be the head of the English department at Vanderbilt. Okay, then they might. All right. Hopefully that was a little help and not just me being a grammar nerd or obnoxious. Okay, because a lot of my best friends are not grammar Nazis, and I've got 3 or 4 friends that didn't go to college, and some of my favorite people, and not that college is neither here nor there, of course, but I mean in terms of that sort of thing. So I just throw that out there to help some of you young people. Okay, now if you're 30 years old or you're 40 and you know you by golly, I'm going to talk the way I want, go for it. But if you're 17, I guess that's my main audience. I'm still kind of thinking young people. Yeah, you want to try to get that correct. And you know how simple it is too. Is any grammar book, if there is such a thing anymore, or go online and just Google up parts of speech or irregular verbs or difficult verbs or something like that. And usually you'll find a chart with them, and it'll have the basic form of the verb, like drink, in past tense, drank, and then past participle, drunk, you know, where you have a helping verb, you have, has, or had with it, or whatever. It'll just like in 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, whatever. It'll just be there. You can actually just look at them. You don't need a teacher or a tutor. You look there, oh, it's kind of like drag. And I would use that a lot, those things. Like the verb drag, you know, I'm going to drag the dog across the floor or whatever. Well, the past tense, most people think is drug, but when you look at that chart, you say, oh, drag. Past tense, dragged? Past participle is dragged? I have dragged, yeah. I dragged the tarpaulin across the yard, and I have dragged it before. I have dragged. Yeah, it's dragged, you know. So things like that can kind of jump out. You say, oh, well, I've been misusing that. Oh, it doesn't really matter. But when you're doing something formal or you want to impress somebody, you need to impress somebody, you know, might be helpful. Okay? All right, I turned to Sunday. Man, you never know what I'm going to get fixated on, do you? Fake bears in the woods, bow and arrows, grammar, all that kind of thing. Some of you have asked me to bring those videos back. I mean, that's not me making it up. Over the years, I've seen comments where they, why don't you do some more grammar videos? I think those people recommending or asking for that probably just think, wow, Hickok, you really are weird. Why don't you do some of that other weird stuff that you used to do occasionally? Maybe we'll do that in the main videos. We'll do, whenever we're reviewing a gun, we'll do 5 minutes of that. Yeah, just to make sure we lose all of our subscribers. So I'm going to let you go. Anything else you were dying to know about? Yeah, anything that I thought was really important, I'll save it for next week. Hopefully you're catching all the videos. Again, that's one of the most common comments I see as I skim through is, hey, glad to see you're still doing this. Yeah, really, like 3 or 4 videos every week for about 10 years or 15. The other thing I'm seeing a lot of is, oh man, I'm trying to get it filtered out. It's hard, but like automatically, but it's hard. Are these scams? Again, the scams, man, they're working in high gear. You probably see them all around the internet, and they use the same approach. Somebody just drove in. UPS guy, I guess. They use the same approach, of course, and there's always a telegram or somewhere to go, you want a prize and that kind of thing, or buy it on this app or whatever it is. And they're just relentless, you know, relentless. So be aware of that. I am never going to be trying to communicate with you all other than replying to a comment, you know, occasionally. And in the comments. You know, if I need to get information to all of you about some deal we've got going on or some kind of prize, it's going to be right here on a Sunday, and I'll lead with it. If it's something like that important, okay? I'll lead with it. You'll know about it. If you've won something, it would be you would already know you had entered, and I would have your information. If I had some kind of contest, I'd have to figure out ahead of time how I'm going to get a hold of you or in touch with you. And because of the 6 million people, I can't, manage something like that. But so, that's not going to happen. 99% of you know that. So anyway, be safe out there and be smart. Don't fall for anything, right? Especially half of the stuff I say. Just ignore me most of the time. You'll probably run a smoother life, put it that way. Life is good.